Welcome, everybody. My name is Erin Riley, and on behalf of the Education Track Chair colleagues, Michael Dando and Sean Justice, we would like to thank all the educators who have submitted papers. This is an incredible group of proposals to pick from, and we are thrilled to hear from this first group today. We will be hearing from educators working in a wide range of learning spaces from geographical locations from all over, and we will hear about strategies for engagement for students in digital fabrication spaces designed to reach a broad population of students. We will also hear about establishing new teaching paradigms around fabrication that transform schools and neighborhoods. We'll hear about a kindergarten group that designed a sustainable coffee shop, and we will hear about partnerships between youth makerspace programs and universities that support mentors and mentees alike. So I am super excited to introduce our first presenter, who is Matt Zigler, who's going to be talking about resisting the STEM label in your makerspace.
Thank you. My name is Matt Zigler. I work at a school outside of DC called the Bullis School. My job title is the BitLab coordinator. That is our school makerspace and Fab Lab. And my goal is to try to reach as many students at our school as possible with projects in the makerspace. And some of that is through classes, and some of that is through projects that we facilitate with classroom teachers. And that's what I'm going to be presenting today. Next slide, please. So this really, the information that I'm going to share with you comes out of these questions that I've been asking myself for the past year. Who takes classes in our makerspace? Who feels welcome? And who feels ownership over the makerspace? And this question arose out of an interaction I had at a conference where some teachers were talking about, the topic was about equity in maker education, and some teachers during a break were talking about how they thought that the question of equity in the makerspace was a good one, but that they had students who couldn't even use a ruler to measure things accurately, and maybe they should be dealing with that first. And my sort of reaction to that was that that wasn't quite right, and I couldn't quite formulate what it is that wasn't right about it. But later I realized what was right is that if students don't feel comfortable coming into your makerspace, they're never going to have an opportunity to learn how to use a ruler in the first place. And so that got me questioning, how were the students at our school interacting with our space? Next slide, please. And so you can go through these, thank you. So the idea of diversity, equity, and inclusion really breaks down, I think, nicely in maker education into these three statements. Diversity describes who is in the room, inclusion describes who is welcome in the room, and equity describes who has the keys to the room. And I think too often we just focus on the first of those questions without really looking into, how do people feel about your space and who really feels like they have ownership. Next slide, please. So like I said, we do two types of projects. One is called, we call them BitLab classes, and those are fairly traditional classes that happen in a lot of maker spaces. Thank you. And these would be things like engineering, robotics, maker classes at middle school and high school level. And then we also do BitLab facilitated projects. And this is the bulk of my job. I only teach one block a day. Other teachers teach in the makerspace, but I only teach one class. The rest of my time is spent facilitating projects with classroom teachers that directly relate to the curriculum that they're studying in English, history, world languages, arts, math, science as well. And the idea is to use the makerspace as a tool to support their learning and replace papers and tests in their classroom. And you can click the next. And so I tend to discuss this as a library model. If you think of the library, it's a resource for all teachers. There's an expert in the space who can help orient you, help you solve and figure out what it is that you need in order to accomplish your goals. And that's most of what my role is, and I prefer it that way. And I'm going to show some projects and some research about how that's been working. Next slide. So as a part of this, in the past year, I've looked through the BitLab is 3 years old. I've looked through the numbers of students who have signed up for activities. These could be classes or after-school activities, things that required students to state an interest in actually participating. And as you know, has been certainly talked about in this conference, there is a representation problem, particularly girls and students of color in makerspaces. And so, you know, I certainly found that is also the case at Bullis. We have the middle, the right-hand column there shows that our female population is 44%, but we routinely get 30% students, female students signing up for those classes. But on the right, you can see the numbers of students who participate in the facilitated projects. So when I look at all the projects and all of the content areas across the school, I can see, you know, an equal representation, a correct representation in those projects. So that means that I'm able to reach those female students who are not signing up for classes through these projects. And sometimes those projects take, you know, 2 or 3 days. Sometimes they take 2 or 3 weeks, but it helps break down barriers, I hope, for a lot of students to feel comfortable in the space and feel welcome in the space, and for some of those students to take ownership of the space. And you can, next slide. When we look at our non-white Asian diversity and inclusion, you can see that the representation is actually pretty well represented in terms of students of color who take classes in the BitLab. And you can click the next. But when we look at the facilitated projects, we're actually able to boost those numbers up. And some of those are related to projects that I'm going to share with you. So you can click to the next. So here are some examples of BitLab facilitated projects. This is a project from Spanish 4 class, and the prompt, which was developed by the teacher, was to create a symbol that represented how you felt about the revolutions in Mexico that had been studied in that class. And so students had obviously a wide range of possibilities of tools and interpretations for responding to that prompt. And my job as a facilitator is to help them figure out what tools will work the best and how to actually make the object that they want to make. And then they would present that object in Spanish and talk about why that represents their perspective. Next. This is a project that we do every year. We have an African American Studies class, and they do 2 projects in their class, and one of them relates to the post-Civil War Reconstruction era and challenges and triumphs of African Americans during that time. And every year, the students come up with some different creation that they feel represents what they have learned about the topic. The very first year, we had students who built, they thought that the stories of Booker T. Washington and other, the first African-American Civil War division and these groups and people that they were studying were like hidden gems. And so they made jewelry boxes, and when you open the box up, it told a story. The next year, the group made a board game, and the board game was impossible to win because they were telling the story of the average African-American at the time. So each year, the projects are different. This is a 6th grade African countries tour for geography. They used Google Tour Creator and had to represent culture, economics, environmental aspects of different countries in Africa, and they built a virtual reality tour of each of those countries. Next. This was a Spanish and art history lesson, and they learned about the cave paintings in Altamira. They actually, in the picture there, you can see that they sculpted a cave wall out of clay, and then we used a 3D scanner to scan that. And I talked a little bit about how the caves of Lascaux and Altamira have actually been 3D scanned because they don't allow people to visit those caves anymore. And then we used our CNC mill to carve that cave wall out of foam, and then they painted it in the same method that the cave painters did, holding their hands up and spray painting around their hands and leaving that mark on the cave wall. So by having that physical and engaging process, that probably, these students really enjoyed making this thing, and it's on display in the school, and it helped them learn about that particular aspect of Lascaux or Altamira and the Spanish culture. Next. For the past 3 years, minus last year due to quarantine time, the 9th grade does a human geography book study, and every 9th grader reads one of 3 books. And at the end of that, they come together in small groups to design an object that tells the transformational journey of the main character. And they have, again, access to all of the tools that we have, materials that we have. Some choose to use digital fabrication tools, some choose to hand build things. But they get a wide range of response, and they end up presenting those in a gallery walk. And so this has been a great way to get students involved, because every single 9th grader every year does a project in the Bit Lab and has exposure to that space. Next. And this is a fun one. Our anatomy and physiology class was studying chimeras, and so they took these mythological creatures and they had to create a digestive system for each of these animals. And so they had to understand how might a human digestive system merge with a fish digestive system in order to work for a mermaid, and then they would have to present how they did that. So this was a fun project that I'm just facilitating by creating these parts, and that allows the teacher to maybe make it a more engaging project than if he just printed out some paper, something like that. And I think that is my last. These are some students these are female students who have come due to exposure to the Bit Lab, either taking classes or done work in the Bit Lab within their other areas of interest, like art and entrepreneurship. And so this is my next goal, is to track this kind of interaction to really show that equity piece, the students who feel like this is their space and they can use it for what they want it to do. And thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Next up, we have Yael Gavish from the Center for Educational Innovation in Jerusalem.
Hello there. Hi, I'm Yael. And I come from Ipcha. Ipcha is a Center for Educational Innovation in Jerusalem. Can you go to the next slide? Thank you. We came to be because a very large neighborhood in Jerusalem was suffering from bad reputation, low demographics, and schools were shutting down. So the municipal Office of Education decided that if they would help the teachers evolve, it would help the educational ecosystem to evolve. The problem was that many of the teachers were very, very tired. And you could feel it in the schools. You can feel the headmasters tired, you can feel the teachers tired. Many of the teachers said out loud that they don't really want to teach anymore. They don't really know what to do anymore, because many of the children's, we're talking about general education, public education, low-income families. Many of the children that did have potentials just left the schools and left the neighborhood. So we decided that if we would open a center, we would help regenerate the entire neighborhood. Can you go to the next step? So basically, Ipcha is a public institution, and that means that we help everybody. We help all the teachers, we help all the headmasters, we help all the students, and everybody has to come, which means that the whole school system, it is 10 schools, they created a network, and we created the network for them. We decided that communication between headmasters would be extremely valuable here. And we decided that everybody needs to be in the makerspace in order to feel how it feels to work in a makerspace. So the center actually is designed for educators. We teach the teachers how to express themselves better, how to feel more secure about themselves as teachers. Because many of the teachers in Israel in the public education feel that there's so many constraints and they need to, you know, to be in touch with so many points and quotas that they're not allowed to be free and manage their own teaching process. We wanted them to feel that they could be fair. Can you go back? Oh, good, good. So we help the teachers to reestablish new teaching paradigms, focusing on skills via fabrication projects. Because we saw that many times, if a teacher can see his student work in a makerspace and be creative in a makerspace, it makes him feel differently about the student. It makes them feel differently about what he can do with the student. And we work with very young children. It's 6 to 13. So we work with younger children, and many of the teachers of those younger children are the teachers that are very tired. And we work with them because we work with all the schools in the neighborhood, and we have 10 primary schools in the neighborhood. Can you go forward, please? So what we do is that we have a method. The teacher comes with her classroom to our space for 5 days. They have a preliminary lessons at school to know what they're going to face. And then on day one, the class is divided to teams, and we give them a PBL, a project-based learning, which is open. We just give them a challenge. We give them a challenge, and the children are starting to work independently, working on skills, because we want to work on skills for the children and on skills with the teachers. So actually what the children do is work on a research. They research and devise a strategy. And then while they do that, we show them the spaces. One of the things that we do in the first day is show them the spaces. We have 8 maker spaces. We have a kitchen, carpentry, arts and crafts, and we have 3D, we have new media. They can choose what they want in order to, you know, make the challenge happen, make the thing come true. And the next day, the 2 to 4th day, they're going through the center and they work on the maker spaces without their teachers. The teacher had to go and find them and go and see what's going on, you know. By the 5th day, the kids finished with, you know, a solution. It could be a model, it could be an idea that has a representation, it could be something that works, it could be it could be an Arduino, it could be something that they programmed. It depends on the age of the child and the amount of work they were being able to do. So by the 5th day, the teacher sees that they have accomplished something. They see a presentation, they have a reflection session, and by the end of the week, the teacher sees her students differently. That's what we hope for. It's a frightening process, but it is also a very empowering process for a teacher to see that the children could do it by themselves in a way, but they also needed her, okay? Can you go to the next slide? Okay. So these are the skills. I'll go very briefly. These are the skills for the children. We think about the independent learner skills because from the day one, they work by themselves. We are just guiding them, helping them when they need us. Of course, social emotional skills, which are extremely important. All the collaboration, talking, you know, working on problems. This is where it's done. So meta learning skills, cell collaboration, of course, manual skills, information communication skills, problem solving, global orientation and completion, etc. So the kids have an opportunity to see how it is to be free and how it is to work on their skills by their own and get the support they need pointedly, you know, to the point. Can you go next to the next slide? Okay, here you can see the space. It's a very large building. It was a school that was closed, actually. So we just broke all the walls inside and we rebuilt it. So all the spaces are flowing one into the other. And if the children want to create an open lab space from the carpentry, it's okay if they have a good enough reason. So we can see that sometimes it feels as if the children are, you know, occupying the space, but it's okay. And it's good for the teacher to see that something messy is not really messy. It's just work. So you can see that it's a flexibility on function. Sometimes makerspaces change their function to fit the projects. Okay, can you go to the next one? Okay. And these are the skills that we want to help the teacher find within herself, because most of the teachers that come, they're very good teachers. They're just very tired. They're very good teachers. And during this week, which is a very long time, if you think about it, it's full days, she finds the way, it's all kinds of things that she used in the classroom, but it was very small. Now she makes it big. So it's guidance, it's consultation, it's performance promotion, and it's social leadership. She comes whenever she is needed. Okay, can you go to the next one? Okay, here you can see something very important. You can see that the children are, in most cases, doing stuff that she doesn't know how to do. And it kind of corresponds with what Matt said. They learn new technologies, which she doesn't necessarily know how to work with Arduino or a sewing machine, but she needs to be part of the group and work with them and learn with them and model them how she knows how to learn. That's one thing. And the other thing is that she can, you know, give other things that is not content, that are not content, other things that would help the children, you know, figure out their relationship between each other, know how to decide on a subject, know how to decide on a solution. So she's very good in other things. She's not supposed to know how to work with the laser machine. She might know by the end of the week, but she's not supposed to know. Can you go to the next slide, please? Thank you. So what we actually do is constraints can bring result. This is how we do it. We make constraints for the teacher that allows her to leave behind the old habits and help her find new habits, to reinvent herself. We accompany the teacher. What we do in the center is help her deal with this groundbreaking thing that happens to her. We accompany the teacher throughout the process and reassure her that the children do learn. We focus on variety of moments throughout the day so they will notice the action of learning. The teacher will meet students on a variety of an occasion. She needs to know that she is a teacher even though she teaches one child. It's fine to work with one child, with a group of children, and with the whole class. She has all kinds of varieties of occasions. Okay, can you go to the next one? Okay, here you can see the groundbreaking thing, or the, you know, the losing of the surface for her. Because what happens is that each team goes to a different space in Ipcha. So she needs to find them, and it's very, you know, it could be very loud. So she feels that the control she had is no longer hers. She doesn't have control anymore. And she needs to find a new way to work with it. But I am there for her, you know, to help her there. Can you go to the next level, to the next slide? Thank you. Here you can see what we do in the center. First of all, she has a preparation set up. We hold a pedagogy seminar for each school and each, you know, homeroom, not homeroom, teacher's room, you know, so they know what to face and they know what we are going to do, first of all. So she's not doing it, you know, out blank, first of all. And then on the first day, we model guidance, we model consultation, and she has an idea of what is asked from her. And then from the second to the fifth day, we accompany and guide the teacher to and help her to use her teaching skills. using methods and tools. We give her tools that helps her, and also we give her guidance, and also we reassure her that she is okay and she knows what to do. She knows what to do. It's just, you know, it's a momentary relapse kind of, okay? And by the end of the series, we hold a reflection meeting and we rethink teaching regularities in school, because our main goal is to change what happens in school, not what happens in Ipcha. Okay, can you go to the next one, please? Okay. Okay, this is just repeating it. Our aim is for teachers to discover they prefer to teach the new way, because they can see that students learn practical tools, intellectual content, and behavioral habits, either through math or sewing, physics or carpentry. She sees that. And also she sees the advantages of teamwork. And many of the teachers start to work in teams the moment they go back to school, because they see the results, okay? Can you go to the next slide, please? Okay, now, one of the tools that we use is a pizza. It's a pedagogical tool that we invented. You can, you know, go to the next slide. I'll show it to you guys. Okay, you can see the kids here play with the pizza. It's not really playing, it's playing, but it's playing and working on all kinds of skills, of behavioral skills, or all kinds of skills. You can see that it could be either collaboration or cognitive flexibility or reflective thinking. It's a board game that we can change the cards in it. And each time we change the card, it works on a different skill. Sometimes the teacher sees a group, for example, that have a fight. They can't decide on a subject matter, for example. So she brings the pizza with her, and she has cards that are empty, are blank. And each child can write what's the problem, what he thinks the problem is, or what you know, annoys him. And then they rotate the pizza, and each child can solve the other child's problem. For example, this is just one of the methods that we use. Another is questions and answers. We have all kinds of, but the teacher knows how to, you know, mediate and help the children work out all kinds of problems or little chinks in the system while going through this week. And now she has a new tool, let's say, okay? Now, can you go to the next slide, please? I couldn't resist. I wanted to tell you what's going on now, because, you know, if you have this beautiful, beautiful makerspace, but you can't use it, it's a problem. And we still wanted to help the teachers, and we still wanted to go on with our goals. So the center goals now, we tried to shift it and help the teachers and the children. So now it is to support and guide educators who distant teaching. And it is very, very complex to do that, because they still need to teach. They still need to be there and work with the children. So first of all, we help them rethink the educational goals. And it's very important to understand, we studied a relationship with those schools. We are their helpers. We are there when it is COVID-19 as well when it is not COVID-19. So we are rethinking educational goals. We're working on techno-pedagogic skills, because many teachers just don't know how to do that. It is a huge problem here in Israel. Many teachers don't have access to computers. Many teachers don't know how to use Zoom. They don't know how to use the 365 or the Google Classroom. They just don't know. So somebody has to teach them. Another thing is working on CEL. Teach them how to work on social emotional skills via distant teaching. How do you do that? Or balancing synchronized like Zoom and unsynchronized studies. Some teachers decided they're going to teach 5 hours a day in Zoom, but it is impossible to do that. So we help that. And the most important is for us is to assimilate fabrication learning within social distancing constraint, which is very, very difficult, because we cannot, you know, it's, the kids are at home. It's problematic. So go to the last slide I have, and I want to show you the 2 solutions that we have. So first of all, we decided to focus on 3 skills, just 3 skills. One is the meta-learning skills, which is the independent learner, which is very, very important in this time and day. The other one is the ICT, which is the working with computers, working with your hands. And the third is collaboration, because we want the children to collaborate even though they're separate. So we work with the teacher on implementing 2 elements. One is my 100 meters, which is around a half a mile. This is the distance that the children could be free in. In Israel, it is not one, now it's a 1,000 meters, but a 100 meters was a good size. So we teach the teachers to teach the children how to utilize whatever we have around us and integrate it in our learning and emotional processes. And the next thing, and the last one, is the integrated learning track. It's a PBL-based process with stepping stones that actually copies what we do in Ipcha, but at home independently. That's it.
Thank you, Yael. That was terrific. Next up, we have Carina Silva, who is with the, who's going to be telling us about strategic partnerships for education innovation.
Hello, my name is Luiza Botelho. I'm a master's degree in education, and I teach STEAM at Casa Fundamental, a Brazilian school. Today, Thais and I will talking about the sustainable coffee shop design as a learning process. Next slide, please. The project Coffee with Sustainability was developed in a private school in Belo Horizonte, Brazil. The school operates in the kindergarten and elementary school segment, aligned to the constructionism approach and multi-literacy as a methodological basis and PBL, amid the importance of the prototyping during the learning process. Considering the rule of the art and how incorporating of the aesthetic dimensions and pedagogy may enhance learning, the Creative Lab has a central place in our school. It's considered not just a physical space, but also a concept, whereas learning can occur across varying spatial contexts. Therefore, a group of 10 children ages 7 to 8 developed the project during Creative Lab classes and during STEAM classes. Today, we are talking about the description of the project, focus on the aspects developed of the Creative Lab. Next slide.
Hi guys, I am Thais Azevedo, a product designer and teacher at Casa Fundamental's Creative Lab, and I'm going to talk about how children as designers developed a sustainable coffee shop. Considering the school context Maria Luiza just talked about, children who attend Casa Fundamental commonly choose to build their own toys in their free time. That's how the story begins. A small group of 8-year-old girls built a coffee shop. They made a mock-up of the physical space, planned the decoration of the place, made a cookbook, and also announced job openings to hire employees. They claimed that as adults, they would build a real coffee shop where they could work together. The rest of the class also wanted to play, but the girls didn't allow them to participate. Then the teacher, careful with the social emotional demands of the class and also looking for strategies that made sense to these children and would support STEAM skills development, proposed building a real coffee shop with the whole class. So during 3 months, the Creative Lab class played the role of supporting the development of both coffee shops, architectural, graphic, and packaging design. So to design a coffee shop, children were presented to a process panel consisting of a piece of paper where each child should register the stage of the process they were on. Yeah, and they understood the power of methodological steps, demonstrating awareness about brainstorming, alternative generation, technical drawings, and also prototyping. As results, they had a banana tree leaf packaging, graphic material for application in products such as tote bags, ceramics, and packaging, besides the coffee shop logo. They also had mock-ups and drawings that were sent to the team responsible for constructions and renovations in the school. And it's important to highlight that during the process, they had moments of excitement, but also had moments of discouragement, both theoretical and practical classes. And I'm going to talk about two specific cases. The first picture, you can see the process of designing the banana tree leaves packaging. And despite the large amount of materials and tools available at school, children should also experience and understand how to work with what they have without wasting. So the use of banana tree leaves for development of packaging appears in this context. The team in charge was using a lot of craft paper to prototype the ideas, but they were disregarding the quantity, applicability, and life cycle of the paper. So we realized that the process required an intervention. And after a discussion about sustainability with the class, the team understood that they should return to the research stage and investigate other material possibilities. So banana tree leaves were presented as a possibility, being a biodegradable and flexible raw material. In the second picture, you can see the branding process. And while planning the graphic project, children generated a great amount of logo. They worked the colors, the figures and shapes, and the application to products. So at the time of decision making, the whole group chose to maintain the first logo they had developed. The argument was that the first logo had already been published, so the school community already knew the coffee shop through it. If they changed their visual identity, they could lose customers. So in addition to the repertoire acquired through research and experiments, children also acquired a comprehension about branding. And in the end of the process, they gained appropriation of the concepts and skills acquired, not only through their prototypes, but also through the presentation of them. And last Teachers' Day, we were very happy to receive a message from a student from our school. In the message, he talks about the process panel. He says, "Lab teachers, I want to thank you for everything, for each project. I know that projects take time, but I know we need to follow all the steps of the process panel. I thought it was really nice after the project was finished." Next slide, please.
The elaboration of the COF's prototype in the Creative Lab classes allowed the project to be sustainable throughout the year in terms of children engagement along the way, the assimilation of science and math contexts. This discussion was held with the teachers of the Creative Lab about the structure of the coffee shop, the material with which the establishment will be built, and the development of packing was essential for the project to establish itself in the STEAM approach. The children had the opportunity to use scientific and design knowledge to make critical and conscious decisions about issues related to the construction and operation of a sustainable establishment. The implementation of the coffee happened in the last days of class in December 2019 with the inauguration of this physical space. The development of the project has enabled learning activities that deserve to be highlighted. Children demonstrate greater environment and report this situations outside the school environment where they active and position themselves on the need to take care and protect the environment. Working with financial education has broadened children's understanding of the value of objects, toys, and food they eat. The maturity and relation on the states and process of the project is visible. The children accept the necessary changes of course along the project, understand that the changes are also part of the process, and finally, as for peer relationship, children are playing leadership roles with more autonomy, respect with the peers, their positions and attitudes. Next slide. Thank you very much to listeners and to the opportunity to share our ideas and experience.
Thank you.
Thank you both. And you probably saw I got the deck switched up, so I apologize for that. So we have Carina Silva next.
Hi, thank you. Thank you so much for the presentation. My name is Carina Silva. I'm from Uruguay, and I'm very glad to be here to you and to share with you this fantastic experience. As the paper said, it's the strategic partnership for education innovation, and particularly we want to share with you the experience of Microbit project. That is one of the projects of Plan Ceibal, and the efforts that we made last year with the University of UTEC Technology University. Next, please. First of all, we would like to share with you what is Plan Ceibal. Plan Ceibal was created in 2007. It's a public agency that we have here in Uruguay, and it's created as a plan of inclusion and equal opportunities with the aim of supporting Uruguayan educational policies with the technology. We use this kind of agency to use the technology with a critical way of using it with the students and teachers. Next, please. So since the implementation of this program, Plan Ceibal, every child who enters to the public education all over the country, he has the opportunity to have access to computer, a personal computer. So they can use and also they can have access to free internet. So they can connect all over the country with these devices. Of course, Plan Ceibal provides programs, different kind of programs, and educational resource, so students and teachers can have access to this kind of training and transform the ways of teaching and learning through the using and the adapting of the computational thinking. Next, please. So what is Microbit? Microbit is a project that has already 2 years rolling, and in Plan Ceibal, we want to increase the development of the computational thinking as a way of thinking, as a methodology of thinking, as a way of solving complex and real problems in real life. So this kind of technology that is a little circuit board, this circuit board, look at the thing that allows students and teachers is to prototype the solution of this kind of problems. Next, please. Thank you. What are the objectives of this kind of project? With the Microbit project, we want to promote the logical thinking in students and teachers. We want to introduce have the introduction of students and teachers in programming, so they can start learning programming and introduce them on the robotics also. We want to support the closing the gender gap and also promote the students' retention. That is, of course, something that is very important all over South America, but also here in Uruguay, the retention and achieve the interest of students and teachers in educational centers. Next, please. So one of the things that we made and we create since the the beginning of the project, especially in 2018, was to create a partnership with others. This kind of partnership allows us to increase the growth and the impact of the project and increase our resources to help teachers and to help students to learn how to use this kind of technology in the classroom also. So in 2019, we start this project of partnership with the technological university here in Uruguay that it's eradicate on the countryside here in Uruguay. And we develop mentoring with university students so they can teach students all over the country. And the innovative part of this program or this mentoring is that university students can have access to curricular credits through tutoring. So really is a win-win situation. Really, it's not only a very good experience, but it's also important for the university student to have access to this opportunity because they can have access to curricular credits. And also students and teachers get qualified mentoring because while university students get this curriculum, students of schools are can have access to knowledge and to another way of knowledge, as is the particularity of share with others this kind of knowledge. So for us, it's very important to this component of the program. Next, please. So in this project, we work with a little part of the population in the countryside with a lot of students and teachers during 2 months of mentoring process. So they can, each university students was in charge of guiding the development of some kind of projects for 4 groups that they want to achieve the develop of one kind of project. They can participate to the Do Your Bit Challenge. Do Your Bit Challenge is an international challenge made for the foundation of Microbit. So the students in high school and schools have to increase and develop some solving problem with this company of university students during these 2 months. And that was a very important thing because they can have time to develop the idea, but also to understand the problem and also to prototype the solution with them, with the university students. Next, please. Well, what were the little results or a few results? We think that we can share with you 4 very important results that we achieve in this program. First of all, we can say that all the students, the school students, apply to the Do Your Bit Challenge. And that was very important because they probably cannot participate of this international content if they cannot have this opportunity to be supported and to be reinforced with this mentoring of the university. The second point that we want to share with you is that the mentors managed to develop their task and successfully solve the challenge proposed by the students. So that is very important because they increase the learning process and they emphasize of the learning process and the project development. the next thing that we think is very important in this kind of project is that all mentors agree that helping the process of younger students requires them to have a clear technical knowledge. They put in instead of I don't know, but a handicap this kind of knowledge, because they not only have to know technical things, the university, but also they have to communicate and learn and teach others. And in the university, there's not every day the possibility of learn and to share the learning with others and teaching others. So they can have this possibility not only to learn in the process, but only to share this knowledge and to share with others the knowledge, and also the achieve of the development of some project. And the last one we think is very important also is that the student understand the importance of working in teams and looking for communication tools that improve their exchange with others. So this is a very important thing. It's not only communicate, it's also to provide the collaboration. And of course, we think that other very important part of the Makerspace is collaboration and learn with others, not only share the achievements. It's also to have access and have this kind of result with others. So in that line, for us, this was a very important point. Of course, we made some A&M research, and we have really good results. The university students says that it was a very productive program to be part. They felt that it was a very good experience, and they enjoy the moments that they can share with others. That was very important for us, because we understand that it's not only to share the knowledge, it's to share the space and the work together team. So that was over and over again a thing that students said that was very important, because it's not only share the knowledge, it's to co-create the knowledge and the achievement of this kind of project. So next one. Yeah, of course, we want to emphasize in this presentation that this kind of project connect people of different ages, also with different places and different cultures. Of course, we are in the same country, it's a little one, but of course we can say that we have different kind of views, and this share together with others, this kind of views and this kind of realities is expose the students, both of them, in different process of training and different process of learning. And we think also that it allows them to connect with global and real problems, because the Do Your Bit Challenge is based on real problems, in detect real problems and work in real problems, in the real life. So as the first time I was saying, for us, the development of computational thinking and critical thinking for us is very important. And if we have the opportunity to share with this experience, we want to emphasize this aspect, that students, university students, and also the schools ones emphasize that this is a very important result for them, not only the communication, not only share with others, but also to have the opportunity to create a solution in in the real context, in the real life. And next one. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Carina, and thank you all. We have about 4 minutes, so we could open up for a very short question or two if anybody has, from the audience, has any questions that they'd like to pose to the panelists. I have the Q&A open right now, so feel free to throw in any questions. There's some really good comments in here, so you should all check it out. So I was thinking about all of these presentations together, and what I was struck by is that each one of you in your own way spoke to how making transformed the learners in the space, whether it was the learners or the learners and the teachers. And so it was really terrific today to hear from you all. Thank you all for participating and for all those that tuned in. Enjoy the rest of the conference, everybody. Unless there's something else, I don't know if Jonathan wants to jump in, or Nathan, if you're still on.
No, nothing from me. I think everything is good. Thank you all. These are wonderful presentations.
Yeah, these were terrific. Thanks, everyone. And we'll give you a Zoom round of applause.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.